My name is Duann Scott. I'm with Shapeways. I'm here to talk about 3D printing. If you don't know what 3D printing is, it used to be called rapid prototyping. It was a way for engineers and designers to test a product before taking it to market. It used to be very expensive and bad quality materials just to get a test before you take to market. So if you make a mistake when you mass produce something, it's very, very expensive. So rapid prototyping is a way to make those mistakes faster, which is important to do. As the technology's improved, the materials have gotten better, and the price has come down significantly in the last 4 to 5 years. That makes 3D printing possible to make final products, not just prototypes anymore. There's also technologies that we umbrella under 3D printing. It's from laser sintering, which is a laser solidifying a powder into a solid. Metal laser sintering, which is lasers solidifying a metal powder into a solid. SLA, which is like waxes or a resin cured solid by a laser. Digital light printing is where a UV light cures a material into a solid. There's electron beams, there's fused deposition modeling, which is how the MakerBots and RepRaps and Ultimakers, the desktop machines work, which is like a hot glue gun squirting out plastic onto a bed to make a solid object. Then there's LOM, which is layers of paper or foil or plastic laid up together, cut, glued together to make an object, and powder bed printing. And each one of these materials has different processes and different properties and different advantages, but we're all calling them 3D printing for now because it's easy. And Shapeways is an online 3D printing marketplace, community, and service. So we're a place where anyone can make, buy, and sell anything they want with 3D printing. So you upload a design, we make it for you, send it to you. You can then sell that design to someone else, to a third party. We'll take the money off the buyer, we'll make it on demand, and we'll send it directly to the buyer and send you the profit. There's no inventory, no stock, no upfront investment, no risk. And you can make anything you want. So why 3D printing? We got machines to make stuff already. With 3D printing, complexity is free. So you can make something with ultimate complexity, there's no additional cost, which is the reverse of all other manufacturing. And with complexity being free, customization is free. So you can make something exactly for one person, or for what your one need. And the speed of iteration is very, very fast. So you can have an idea and have it printed out in 4 to 5 days. If you make a mistake, you can have the next iteration in 10 days. If it works, you've got a product to market in 10 days' time. Another really important thing is supply exactly meets demand. You can print 1 of, or 3 of, or 1,000 of. Whatever your need is, you make. You don't have an inventory waiting around for a buyer. Another thing is when you are involved in 3D printing, when you design something for yourself, it adds a level of meaning to a product which is otherwise impossible. So there's the quality, the value of the product is beyond the material itself. So as I said, complexity is free. All these items here are all 3D printed. One of the most interesting ones, I think, is the strand beast in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to put the microphone down for a second and show you this part. Now this is based on a sculpture, kinetic sculpture by an artist named Theo Janssen. Two Dutch students were fans of his work, and they figured out how to design it in their CAD software. They 3D printed it, and it came out of the machine in one piece like this. So it's got like 72 moving parts, straight out the machine with no assembly. So it's super, super complex. And if this was a solid object with no moving parts, it would cost more than it does with moving parts because there's less material used. Because with 3D printing, you only pay for the material that you use. Another cool thing about this is about the reputation economy, or social capital, you might say. These two kids designed this 3D printed version of the Strand Beast without any input from Theo Janssen, the original artist who does this work. They were just fans of his and they wanted to figure out how to do it. After they printed it, they showed Theo Janssen and said, check it out, what do you think? And he loved it. He said something like, I always knew that the Strand Beast would replicate themselves, I didn't know how. And then he said, I realized that they would seduce the humans into making them. And then he gave them the okay to sell it on Shapeways. As an act of kindness towards Theo Janssen, because they thought he was cool, they made all the profits from the sales go directly to Theo Janssen. In the first weekend, it went on Gizmodo, Boing Boing, all the Reddit, blah, 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 blah. It went super viral, and they made thousands of dollars worth of sales. And Theo Janssen got a passive income from his design without doing any work in it whatsoever. After a few months, the sales started to taper down. and still a steady income coming from it. They decided to split revenue, so both the artist, who had no input in the actual process of making this object, apart from the inspiration, and the two students now have a passive income for that design. And to this day, like 2.5 years later, every month they get a payment in their PayPal account, and they get a passive income from this design. So, super complex thing, passive income, and no upfront cost for them except the first concept, the first design. As I said, with complexity being free, customization is free. In the center left, I'm going to go back one. In the top center, there's a cuff by Nervous System. There are a couple out of MIT who design jewelry by growing it rather than designing it. So instead of like dragging geometry around, they write an algorithm which grows the design. When they're happy with the design, they press pause and print. Now, they can make 1,000 that are different. They can press pause and print 1,000 times. And making 1,000 that are different will cost them no more than 1,000 that are exactly the same, because there's no economies of scale with 3D printing. And with that, you can make everything unique. They also made the app available so anyone else can customize their design. If you see in the center left, yeah, there's an app they've made on their website. So you can go in, grab that cuff, you can twist it, change the shape, make it into a ring or a bracelet or an anklet or a belt, I guess, if you can get into it. Twist it around, change the form. If you like it, you can press print, and it'll go through the Shapeways API and get made and sent directly to you. It'll be like no one else has one exactly like it before. And it costs Nervous System nothing, and it costs you only the cost of materials. So these are ways for people who don't have access, who don't have a 3D model to 3D print. And we're going to see more and more of these apps come into play. For now, for most people, have to design something. But as this evolves, you'll see more apps. It will become that things around you will be printed you won't even know anymore. At the moment, it's a novelty, it's cool, it gets on the paper, but soon it'll be like an injection molded part. No one says, this potentiometer knob was injection molded. They say, this is a potentiometer knob. And soon it'll be a case of saying, I went to the app to get a knob for my Cinderphonics 3007, and you'll just pull it up on the app, you'll press buy, it'll get printed and sent to you. And we'll just make the ones we need. You don't need to order 3,000 up front and have them underneath your bed if they don't sell, because supply exactly meets demand. A great case of this is Joshua Harker, an artist based in Chicago. He's trying to raise $500 so he could sell, so he could take his skulls to this gallery in Chicago. This was trying to pay for beer and invites, basically. He put on Kickstarter for sale to get backers to help him out. After 2 days, he made $19,000 worth of sales. After the month, $77,000 worth of sales of these 3D printed skulls. Now, if he went through any other way, like if he had a desktop printer trying to print these out, he couldn't scale up in time. If he had to go to China to get them produced, which would be very hard based on the geometry, it'd be like a 6-month lead time by the time he went back and forth and made it work. But using 3D printing and Shapeways, within 8 days of sending us the money, he had 1,000 skulls, or 3 pallets worth of skulls at his doorstep in Chicago. And he didn't have to put any money up front, so there's no risk for him whatsoever. But it's not just about making new things, it's about extending the life of things and adding value to things which would otherwise be broken. This is my kid's stroller. I was in Australia at the time. It was out of warranty, and I called up company, Bugaboo. And they said the closest place was in Sydney. It would have cost me about $250 to send the stroller to Sydney, get the replacement parts, send it back. They had no replacement parts online, no one nearby. So I busted open the stroller with a butter knife and a bottle opener, because that's the tools I had at hand. I found the part, which is a simple alloy part. I modelled it in 3D software in about 5 minutes. I printed it out in stainless steel, and it cost me $25, and I fixed my stroller. And my wife, for the first time, agreed that this was a good thing. But I also made the part available for anyone to download, and anyone to print themselves using Shapeways or any other service or their own MakerBot or anything. So now anyone who has this broken stroller part can print it themselves, and Bugaboo don't get a cent, which is awesome. But some people are looking at a better way. Teenage Engineering is a cool synth. They're from Sweden. Yeah, they're from Sweden. They make these cool micro synths. They made these little knob add-ons which go onto potentiometers, so you can do these weird things like put a rubber band on the knob and put it on the side of the synth and twang it like a guitar, and it makes cool sounds. The problem is they're in Sweden, most of their customers in America. The plastic parts cost about 60 cents to make, but about $20 to ship. And so nobody bought them, and their customers were getting pissed off with them. They're struggling to find a distributor in the US who would take on the shipping cost, and they couldn't in the end. So to solve their problem, they released the CAD files, the 3D files, so anyone can download it and print their own version of this knob. So what they're doing is they're adding value to their product without any investment in their part whatsoever. They don't have to deal with the supply chain, they don't have to inventory it, they don't have to deal with customer service, they don't have to deal with transaction. All they do is make cool things, and people can print them and put them on their synth themselves, and their fans become bigger fans. And potentially their fans could now take this and run with it and make their own attachments, which they could then share among the community, and then their community adds value to their products without the manufacturer doing anything at all, which more companies should be doing very, very soon. Someone who's trying it out at the moment is Nokia, who released the CAD files at the back of their Lumia 9750, some big number, so that anyone can download it and print it as a cosmetic thing, or they can add something. So if you want to be able to put your phone onto the mic stand here to see how long you've got left to talk, anyone? You could have it mounted on there because you made this special 3D printed mount for it. And it's a way for, again, the Nokia to have value added to their product without doing any investment, any manufacturing, any distribution, any risk, and a way for their community to be engaged in the product. And when a community is engaged in the product, they care more about it, and they talk about it more, and they tell their friends, and their friends buy it, and they share things, and it becomes a thing. Off topic, you can make anything you want. So if you want to make a 17 by 17 Rubik's Cube, and you go to Mattel or Hasbro and say, I've got this brilliant idea, there's going to be a massive market for it, I've got the 17 by 17 Rubik's Cube. They're going to show you the door, and they're going to say, never come back. With 3D printing, you can do that. So this guy has designed it, Oscar van der Venter, he's the puzzle king. He designed the 17 by 17 Rubik's Cube. He printed one out, it got the Guinness Book of Records for this complex Rubik's Cube. By the time he sold 2, he's making a profit on that product. So now he's making money. And also the smallest possible Rubik's Cube. You make things which otherwise be impossible because complexity is free and there's no risk. If it doesn't sell, you've got one in your drawer somewhere, not 10,000 under your bed. 3D printing is really good for connecting things to things. So just recently this guy made this attachment for the MagSafe for the Apple, so it goes on a key ring we can 3D print stainless steel, which is cool. So using the stainless steel's magnetic properties, which is odd, you can use a magnet from the connector to put onto your key ring, and you've got your product carried around with you. The printed part costs very little, but it adds value to that, to the MagSafe connector. This guy made a connector for his bike. So all you do is you keep the little connector on at all times. It weighs about 2 grams, weighs nothing. If it rains, you get a Coke bottle from out the bin. You screw it on with the lid, and you've got an instant mud guard. It's genius. The GoPro camera mount, the guy wants to film with his drone for some reason. He's got a GoPro, he's got a drone, he puts them together with a 3D printed mount. I don't think they have them at the GoPro store yet for drones. The other thing is, like you go to a conference and you've got 1,000 people trying to get to a power supply so you can charge your phone. They're all on the ground, it's clumsy. This guy's made the simple device connect your phone to its own charger in an elegant way. So what's happening is people are solving their own problems with 3D printing. These are just regular people from around the world. We've got about 300,000 users of Shapeways. People upload their designs for themselves usually, and when they make it available to others, when they're solving their own problem, other people often have that same problem, so they can solve other people's problems at the same time, sell that design and make some money, which is cool. And innovations happens really, really fast. The other thing you can do is add meaning to product. So this pendant, this guy met this girl on his holidays in Europe. He fell in love with her, she kind of liked him. She said she wanted this pendant, but it wasn't available anywhere anymore. It's out of stock, it doesn't sell anymore. He looked online everywhere, couldn't find it, so he taught himself to 3D model. He designed this, he copied the thing exactly. He got 160 crystals from Swarovski and glued them all on individually, and he sent them off to her. And he said he felt like he sent a part of himself off because he put so much time in it, he made it himself. There's so much meaning in the product, far beyond the cost of the silver which was printed in, or the Swarovski crystals, or the packaging he made, but the fact that he did it himself. He sent it off to her for Christmas, he didn't hear anything. And he thought, she doesn't like it. Turns out the Postal Service lost it, and about 6 weeks later it finally arrived, and she wrote back with her undying love. So it won.